There is a very specific number where you quietly stop being the kind of customer the financial world makes most of its money from. And here is the surprising part. It is not $1 million. It is not even particularly close to that. It is $100,000. The moment you cross that one line, something genuinely shifts, both inside your account and in how the entire system is able to treat you. Now, banks do not literally lie awake fearing you. But the most profitable things they quietly do to ordinary people simply stop working the instant you hit that number. So let me show you why 100,000 is the real turning point of your whole financial life. First, you have to understand why that first 100,000 is so strangely special. It is, famously, the single hardest money you will ever build in your life. And the reason is simple. On the way there, you are doing almost all of the heavy lifting entirely yourself, out of your own paycheck, with very little help. But the very moment you actually reach it, the underlying math quietly flips, and for the first time, the money itself starts doing a serious share of the work for you. Which brings us to the first reason this number changes everything. At $100,000 invested at a perfectly normal return, your money begins generating thousands of dollars a year completely on its own. For the very first time in your life, a meaningful pile of money shows up that you did not have to trade a single hour of work for. The snowball, which felt frozen solid for years, finally starts to roll downhill and pick up its own speed. Put an actual number on it. $100,000, growing at a normal long-term rate, can quietly throw off something like $8,000 to $10,000 in a single year, without you lifting one finger. That is a part-time income, quietly appearing out of thin air, purely because you finally crossed the line. And every year after that, the engine only grows larger, because now even the growth itself is growing. The second reason is that you quietly escape the exact trap the system profits from the most. Below that line, an enormous number of people live just one bad surprise away from the credit card, the overdraft, the high-interest loan. And those people are, bluntly, the single most profitable customers in all of finance. But once you have a six-figure cushion behind you, you stop paying that endless tax of fees and interest and panic. You just walked out of the most lucrative group they have. The third reason is leverage and the quiet power to simply say no. When you have real money sitting behind you, you can wait for the right deal instead of grabbing the first one. You can refuse the bad loan. You can walk away from the pushy salesman without a second thought. Options, plain and simple, are power. And the people with no cushion and no options are forced to take whatever terms they are handed because they cannot afford to walk. Think honestly about who actually gets the worst deals in all of finance. It is never the rich. It is the people with no buffer, no options, and no ability to simply wait. They get handed the highest interest rates, the ugliest fees, and the most predatory loans, precisely because the system knows they have no choice at all but to accept. $100,000 quietly buys you straight out of that entire category. Quick, honest note, right in the middle here. None of this is financial advice. It is just the pattern of how money tends to behave once it crosses this line. Your situation is entirely your own. Now, back to it, because the next two reasons are the ones that live inside your own head. The fourth reason is that your entire psychology quietly flips from scarcity to calm. Living right on the edge forces genuinely terrible money decisions. Panic selling in a dip, chasing whatever is hot, grabbing desperate short-term fixes. But a solid six-figure cushion slowly rewires you into a patient, rational, almost boring decision-maker. And that matters enormously, because calm money quietly compounds for decades, while anxious, frightened money just bleeds itself out. You can genuinely feel this shift the moment it happens. Money decisions made out of fear are almost always wrong. Sell at the very bottom. Buy at the top. Lock in every single loss. Money decisions made from a place of real safety are patient and boring, and quietly right. That cushion does not just protect your bank account. It protects you from your own worst instincts. The fifth reason is maybe the most powerful of them all, because it has nothing to do with the dollars themselves. Crossing 100,000 quietly shatters the single most expensive belief a person can carry, the heavy story that says, "I will never ever get ahead." Once you have actually proven to yourself that you can build it, you suddenly, genuinely believe that you can build the next 100. And that one shift in belief changes absolutely every financial decision that comes after it. And belief here is not some soft, fluffy, feel-good thing. It is genuinely the single most practical asset you own. The person who believes they can get ahead saves more, invests far more calmly, ignores the get-rich-quick noise, and stays in the game through every downturn. The person who believes they are permanently stuck does the exact opposite, and quietly proves themselves right. So how do you actually cross this line, if you are not there yet? The honest answer is almost disappointingly simple. You become deliberately boring with your money on purpose. You spend less than you earn every single month. You automate the difference straight into low-cost index funds. You ruthlessly kill any high-interest debt first, and then you stay patient through the long, boring, unglamorous middle stretch, where it feels like nothing is happening at all. And here is the quiet magic of getting boring. Not one of those moves is clever, or risky, or even slightly hard to understand. They are simply repeated, relentlessly, for years. The whole real secret of the first 100,000 is not some brilliant strategy at all. It is doing the obvious, dull thing for far longer than feels exciting. The market quietly rewards patience far more than it rewards raw intelligence. And here is the part you genuinely have to hear, because it is exactly where most people quietly lose. Somewhere around $30,000 or $40,000, the early excitement is long gone, the balance still feels painfully small, and quitting starts to feel completely reasonable. That spot is the lonely valley, and it is where the overwhelming majority of people give up, very often just a year or two before the line that would have changed everything for them. If you can simply refuse to quit in that valley, you are already doing what almost no one else will. So the real takeaway is this: $100,000 is not the finish line of anything. It is the exact moment the game quietly flips in your favor, where your money stops being something the system feeds on and starts becoming something that finally works for you. Tell me in the comments. Just type the word momentum if you are on your way to that number or already past it. I would genuinely love to know. And if you want the next breakdown, the one on exactly how to build your first 100,000 from zero, it is waiting for you right now. I read every single one.